This week, I'm here with Annie from Annie's Ginger Elixir. Yeah, right here. And this episode's going to make you feel good.
I hope so.
It will. It will. Annie, thank you for bringing me into your office. Last time I was here, where we're sitting right now, was just filled with Annie's elixir shots being filled.
Yep.
Tell me about that, and more so, tell me about what you're doing now.
So, this is our post-production space, and now we're already outgrowing the space. So they just moved it to that side today, and we're growing very quickly. You came by a couple of weeks ago or last week, and we actually showed you a space that we're interested in, and it feels like we just moved into this space and just expanded here, and it's already too small.
That's amazing.
It is. It's scary, and it's amazing, and it's we always feel like we took this space and, we'll never outgrow this space. Look at how much more space we have. And it's already 3 months in, we're just already outgrowing it.
So Annie's Ginger Elixir, what's the business model look like right now?
The business model. Well, this is a 30-year-old home remedy that I brought to market 7 years ago. My husband just brought it into our local provision store in Fort Greene in our neighborhood, and the buyer loved it. And she just looked and she says, "Where's your nutritional facts panel? Where's your barcode?" We just had no idea. We even brought it in with this square bottle. This is the bottle that I used to, I'd make it at home and ladle it into.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So you were making it at home and you brought it into her to say, "Hey, can you sell this?" Or were you selling it already?
No, we weren't selling at all. I just over 30 years, I would give it to my friends and family whenever they were getting sick. I'd be really annoying about it. And then they would say, "Wow, it just got rid of this or it got rid of that." I knew it was really good for you. I just didn't really know why and how it worked. And so 7 years ago, we launched it as a business, and here we are. So really, our business model is really, we're really mission-based, and so we're really trying to spread the word about food as medicine. Going back to old traditions, different cultures, what were they doing when their kids were getting sick, what was being made in the kitchen, and that's simply what I was doing.
Why do you think it took nearly 30 years for the light bulb to go off to say, all right, this is helping everybody. Food is medicine, proven fact for almost 30 years. Now let's try and sell it.
Yeah, because I was a graphic designer before. My husband's a visual artist, a sound artist, and we're not business people, we're not entrepreneurs, and it just kind of happened by accident. And, mostly every store that we approached, we just organically just approached the stores we were interested in. And most of them would take it. So then we became, then we were in business. And so we just kind of follow where this elixir is taking us. We're really not trained. We learned everything through Google. And then talking to other small business owners and just learning from them,
Do you use ChatGPT right now at all?
No, not yet.
God, it's a great tool.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you're Googling anything, you could put whatever you're about to Google, put it into ChatGPT,
and
it'll give you the answer, and then you could have a conversation with ChatGPT.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, what is the best type of bottle to bottle my ginger elixir? And it will then either give you an answer, or maybe it'll ask you another question, so it can get more granular.
Yeah.
And then let's say it gives you an answer. You could say, what's the best way I can buy these in bulk, in wholesale?
Amazing.
You could have a full conversation on a prompt with ChatGPT and learn a lot.
And I feel like if we don't jump on that bandwagon now, we're just going to get lost. It's going so fast.
You could have a full conversation and then type in, make me an image that shows me drinking this elixir on the beach in Bali.
And it'll do that. Oh my God. It's really scary.
It's awesome.
It's awesome and scary at the same time, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
That it's 2024 and it's only going to get better
wilder
and better.
And faster.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's really, you just have to embrace all of this stuff. As a business owner, as somebody who's social and just part of this world, you really do have to embrace see how it can help you and understand it, and just really take advantage of these tools, right?
Indeed. So
Yep.
let's go back.
Okay.
Where did it all begin? Like when did you
Start making
Yeah,
this?
when did you start making this? But were you making anything before this? What was your family like growing up? That like where was there like in my family like there was like this chicken soup recipe that my grandma had. Like what was it like in your family growing up with around food?
I came from a very non-traditional childhood. I'm Chinese, 100% born in Ecuador. So, and my parents are both Chinese and moved to Ecuador as teenagers and met there
Separately.
separately. And so, yeah, it's really
Was
wild.
there like when they were younger? Was there a thing where people were either moving
Leaving?
or fleeing China to go to South
Well,
America? Wait,
my-
Ecuador, is South America, right?
Yeah, Ecuador is in South America. It's like next to Peru and south of Colombia. And so my grandfather was a general and like the right hand person to Chiang Kai-shek. And he ran the military school. Now, some of this stuff is a little sketchy because there's now a language barrier between me and my mom because her, English is not as great as my Chinese is pretty poor. My Spanish is just gone completely. And so trying to get some of these historical facts are a little difficult. But so my grandfather had to flee when Mao came into power. And he had 3 wives that he brought to Ecuador. Some of the people in the army, some of his men said, come to Ecuador. It's cheap and the weather's great.
Do we know if your mother was the favorite wife or if she was number
My
2 or 3?
mother, this is my dad's dad.
Oh, God.
So this is my grandfather who I never
Gotcha.
met, but he had the 3 wives, and he brought them to Ecuador with bars of gold, and that's what they lived off of. And so that was I think in the early 50s. And I'm not exactly sure how my mother ended up in Ecuador, but she ended up there as a teenager. And so I grew up with 4 grandmothers. And I remember, and we grew up pretty affluent, which I don't, I moved to New York when I was 7. But I remember we had a cook, and some of the meals that we would have, I'd look into my soup and there was like an entire seahorse in there or snakes. We really just grew up eating things that Chinese people feel are functional. And so, and I would just eat this stuff. And
Where'd you move to in New York?
First, we moved to Miami for the first year, so I was still able to speak Spanish.
Okay.
And then moved to Long Island.
Got it.
Port
Where-
Jeff first, and then for a year, and then Bellport.
Lovely. So what was it like growing up in that household in Long Island?
So we went from
and especially around food.
around food. So we grew up very affluent in Ecuador, but then we had a typical immigrant story when we moved here. So the food that my mother made, she was always cooking Chinese food, and she would always just kind of mention the function of food, and it's just you'd stay away from this. This is good for this. Eat more of this, and it was. I must have absorbed it and just
100%.
Yeah.
These are formidable years where you're growing up and you're being taught the positive and negative effects of food on your body.
Yeah.
So when you become a teenager, early 20s,
Yeah.
and now you're starting to make your own.
Yeah, so I became, I was smoking 2 packs a day and started really having troubles with my my upper respiratory system.
This
So,
was at what? How far down the road was this?
This was when I was 26, 27.
Okay, so 26, 27.
So I had recurring...
Heavy smoker. Where were you
heavy
living at this
smoker.
point? Still
Dumbo.
Okay, so you
Before
moved
it
to
became
Dumbo.
Dumbo, yeah. Right before, no, this was 90, I think this is 93, 94. And before Dumbo became Dumbo.
Yeah. Did you walk around with like mace, a knife? Like
We would look at the waterfront. It was not developed yet, really, and I just would look and I would just say, that's just going to go completely insane. one day, and then it just started developing really quickly, and now Dumbo is what Dumbo is.
Dumbo's insane.
Yeah, it's completely insane. So I was having recurring sinus infections and bronchitis, and on antibiotics. I was such a pro at being able to see my phlegm and everything and just be able to self-diagnose. I would just call my doctor and say, okay, there's another infection here. He would just call in a Z-Pack, and I was just on antibiotics every 3 months. It would just come back.
And still you're smoking even during this.
Yeah, I was smoking, and I finally decided to quit because I just was getting too sick from it.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't breathe, and I was, it just didn't make any sense. So I just quit smoking, started making a ginger tea. I knew ginger was a really powerful anti-inflammatory. And, make a very traditional one and, cook it for 20 minutes and noticed that it was somewhat helping. And so I just would keep adding more and more ginger and cook it longer and longer until it just wiped out all the infections.
Is it the type of thing where you get not immune, but you build up a tolerance to the ginger? So like, all right, if I'm using this much ginger and it's affecting me, then the more I have it, now I got to make it stronger because this much isn't affecting me as well anymore.
I don't know if it was that I became immune to it. I just saw that it was working. If I just made it stronger, maybe it would work faster.
And it did.
And it did. It absolutely did. So this is what I ended up with, this strength. And this
is the story, how this came to be.
Yeah, and it has not changed one bit since from my kitchen to how we're making it here. All the ingredients are exactly the same. The process is exactly the same. And it's something that people make at home when they're starting to feel sick. And so, we meet a lot of people who are like, they drink it, they're like, oh yeah, we're making this at home. And so anybody can make this at home, their own version. It's just so time consuming.
So you make this in the 90s.
Yeah.
10 years go by, you're still making it. Another 10 goes by, you're still making it, and you're not selling it yet. But at this point, are you bringing it to parties? Are you bringing it to family gatherings, friend gatherings? Like, how are you getting this into people's hands? Because you know the effects of it.
Yeah.
How are you getting this to people that are then able to see the effects?
I was really annoying if somebody would say, I'm getting sick. I would just bring them a giant Chinese, quart container of Elixir, and they would just, and I would just do that. I don't know if people were drinking it.
Were you calling it Annie's Elixir at the time?
It was called Annie's Ginger Tea. And so everybody say, okay, here's Annie's Ginger Tea. I would just bring it. I didn't even know if people drank it, but some people who did drink it would say, oh my God, I had a clogged ear for 3 weeks and it just completely went away. Or it just got rid of this, or got rid of that. So, and I knew it worked, and I didn't know if people were just really trying to be polite. But I just knew it really was healthy and magical. So Allard brought it to our provision store, and she, we said, this is Annie's Ginger Tea, and she drank it, and she said, no, this is so strong. If you're going to call it Annie's Ginger Tea, people are going to think that it's like a iced tea. And so you need to rename it. So we came up with... She wasn't wrong. So we named it Annie's Ginger Elixir.
And this was 7 years ago?
7 years ago, yeah.
And when did you finally need to get an office?
So we cooked...
I guess more importantly before that, I guess to go hand in hand with that, when did you finally need an office, and what was your thought process when she was like, all right, I'll buy this. It needs to be called the Elixir.
Yeah.
Another light bulb went off. How did you then start mass producing it to then sell more?
So we found out we had to be in a commercial kitchen. We can't cook it from my stove. We can send samples from my stove at home, but if you're distributing this to the general public, you have to go into a commercial kitchen. So we found a commercial kitchen in the Pfizer building in Bed-Stuy, 63 Flushing. And we were cooking it ourselves and ladling it in, with funnels, and just didn't, we had to get the recipe approved by Cornell to get our schedule processes, how to safely produce it for human consumption. And learned a lot along the way. So it was just the two of us cooking, packaging, delivering it to stores, and more stores started ordering. So we did play around with a co-packer as well. That was a little disastrous, but we...
Because of the recipe getting messed with? Or?
The recipe it's really an artisanal process. It takes hours. There's just because that's what I was doing at home, and it's really time consuming.
So what was the pain point with the co-packer?
That they're like fast and furious. We want to just mass produce Coca-Cola, water. It's all about mass production there. And we're like, no, you have to cook it longer. You have to taste it first before we start bottling. And it's not, I think part of their business model is not to take artisanal products. And, so we brought it to the Navy Yard there and also shared another shared commercial kitchen in building 152, and quickly outgrew that one and ended up here next door.
I love this.
Yeah, and then broke through last year here, and we're like, that's it, we have enough space. And now it's like
1 year later, now we need to double in size.
Yeah.
Maybe more than double.
Yeah, we doubled, and now we have to double again, and we're like, wait, we have to make sure that's gonna be good enough for the next 2 or 3 years.
So I know with social media, it's not your strongest suit.
Mm-hmm.
But with marketing, what have you done to elevate the brand?
Not much. I am, as a small business entrepreneur, I am the social media person. So nothing has really happened with us in the last year and a half because we launched all of these farmers markets.
Got it. I feel like I need to get you an intern.
Yes. Well, Jessie over there, she's very shy, but she was our former intern that the Navy Yard they give you interns every season.
Oh, that's so smart.
And if you hire them, it's really a great support for us as tenants of the
And
Navy Yard.
she just gets paid in Elixir, right?
Yeah, just Elixir. Everybody gets paid in Elixir. No money. It's all trade. And no one gets sick. So
That's so great. Anyone calls in sick, that's when they get fired.
exactly. What are you talking about? How much Elixir have you had? Yeah, so that's always my first thing. Drink some Elixir if you're getting sick.
I love that. And at what point, because I know you definitely had to have had this point, were you ready to close up shop?
What do you mean?
Did you get to a point where you're like, this is too much? Because you went from...
Oh, every day.
Every day.
Every day. If I go into the office now and talk to a large, it's like, what are we doing? Are we really doing this? This is really super scary. Especially we really fell into it. And I always say that we're reluctant entrepreneurs. But this Elixir is bigger than the two of us. It just has its own legs, and we just follow it and make sure that it's in the right place at the right time, in the right hands. And that's my job.
When
really.
you started packaging, was there an order that came in that you were like, now we got something?
Early on, there was a woman who she had us in her store, but she also was curating all the American Express Black Card member gift boxes and approached us. And these are people who, spend $5 million and up with their Black Amex card. And this is who it was going to. So I'm just like, who's this going to? It was really... and I don't know who it went to, but it was just, we were getting some opportunities like that. And so we're always somewhat pinching ourselves, like, is this really happening? And I suffer from major imposter syndrome.
But that's most.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
I think it's healthy, actually.
Yeah, it's very healthy. And I have a lot of people on the show who say similar but different type of sentiment. When do you ever really get to the point where you're like, all right, I'm gliding? You don't, because every day as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and now the amount of hats that you wear, there's something new every day that's scary.
Every day, every day. But Danny Meyer says the definition of business is troubleshooting. You're constantly solving problems. And that is the definition of business. It's not you're just like things are going, and there's always something to address, something that you can always improve. But it's very challenging.
a couple weeks ago, I was at the Baldor food event.
Okay.
And Danny Meyer
Was there?
He was there. He was there. They had a Q&A with Danny Meyer, and then someone raised their hand in the audience, like, so which is your favorite restaurant? Which of your restaurants is your favorite? And he goes, well, the one that's giving me the least headache that week.
Yeah, that's all it is. And you have to have that in your DNA where you're just like kind of unfazed by things and recognize, that problems are, most of the time you can solve them. If you can't solve them, then you need to just move on.
Well, a big part of that is having a great network.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And having smart people around you, good people around
Yep.
you. And something that we were talking about before we got on the mics was a matter of, as you grow,
Yeah.
continuing to grow a relationship with people who are doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Obviously not people who have their own Elixir, but people who might have their own CPG products,
Yeah.
someone who might have just an entrepreneurial way about
Spirit.
them,
Yep.
entrepreneurial spirit,
Yep.
and being able to feed off of each other.
Yeah.
Because you can learn like that.
Sometimes, entrepreneurship, if people, I've had friends, who wanted to launch a business and they ask me for advice, and I always say, find a partner to do it with, because it can be very lonely. You're questioning yourself all the time, and
This is good. Can you say that again?
yeah, find a partner to do it with, because it is very lonely. It's very lonely, and it's challenging, and you need just somebody to feed off of and also talk you off the ledge. Allard and I are really lucky that we both are on the ledge at different times, and we mostly are never on the ledge at the same time, so we can always kind of talk the other one down. And just the support and just this network of other friend brands that we talk to, I feel like they're also sometimes all you need to do is just vent. You're having the same exact problems and just vent, and then you're fine. You move on. So.
And have you heard, I'm sure you have, what's like the number one or number two best story that you've heard from somebody who your Elixir has changed their life?
Oh my gosh. So we launched these farmers markets a year and a half ago, and I have to say it's probably been the best thing we've done as a business. Most businesses launch at the farmers market. They see if people are interested, they get a lot of feedback, proof of concept, and people in Westchester kept asking us to do farmers markets, and year after year we were doing an event in Kingston, Field and Supply, and every single time somebody from Westchester would say, are you doing these farmers markets in Westchester? And so on a whim, we did it a year and a half ago, and it was really life-changing for us as a business. So we worked those farmers markets for like 4 or 5 months straight in the dead of winter in Westchester. Every single time, we didn't have any team members doing it.
Dead of winter, does that mean it's outdoors? And
yeah, it's
okay.
outdoors. So it was like 20 degrees. Our bottles luckily did not explode. And people would come to us already, having some health issues, over-medicated, going to the doctor, completely frustrated because it was not resolving anything. And they would start doing some research on their own and start seeing ginger, turmeric, all these things that are natural and has medicinal properties. And so they would just come up to us and ask, what's ginger good for? And so we would explain what this elixir, why I made it, how it could help. And so they'd buy the small bottles, and then the next week they would come back and buy the liters, and they would report to us how it was helping them. So I've heard, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to claim, but we've heard things from...
You can claim all of it.
Okay.
Because it's probably true.
So 2 weeks ago, it's another vendor who has an ulcer and has chronic pain constantly, bought our elixir at some market in Great Neck, and he said he was drinking like 2 ounces a day, and within 3 weeks that pain is completely gone. That's just one person.
Do you think that having too much of it could be harmful?
No, when I had COVID, I drank a liter a day. So I'd had it bedside, and I was just, because it's all inflammation,
Yeah.
all those symptoms are inflammation. That's what ends up really making you sick. So I knew I had to just get to the inflammation. Plus, my weak points of my body are my lungs And so COVID really, I took that
Oh,
very
that must have
seriously.
been so scary.
Yeah. So I could feel it. I could feel my chest. So I just drank, and I was fine.
At any point, were you like, this is going to be with me when you got COVID, was there
Mm-hmm.
any point where you were like, this is going to be with me for the rest of my life?
This elixir?
No, the feeling.
Oh, the
like,
COVID.
The COVID.
No, I knew.
Okay.
I knew how to treat it. I am very in tune with my body, and I just knew what I needed to do. So so no, you cannot drink too much of it. There's no ODing. There's zero side effects, and I've consumed so much of this at this point that it's I'm the guinea pig for the company.
Yeah, I mean, you're glowing.
Thank you.
Has anyone, how many times have you been approached to acquire for someone to acquire the company?
A few times people were interested, and it's either to acquire or to raise capital. And for me, it's always been, and I do try to tell these investors that we're not just interested in capital, because we can get capital anywhere. We're a unicorn. We're a home remedy in a bottle, and there's no other home remedy in a bottle that I know of. So we can't be put through the same trajectory that most CPG companies go through, which is you get with a distributor, you get into 10,000 doors, and you do this and that, free fills, slotting fees, and all of this. It just doesn't. I recognize that it would not work for us. For us, it was really getting out there and talking to people at the farmers market, explaining what this does, sending them home with it, just kind of, they would then tell their family and friends about it. So our growth has been completely organic. We have done really zero marketing, zero ads. We didn't even have a salesperson until a month ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was, it just has its own legs, and so we really pay attention to what it's doing on its own.
And when you do these farmers markets, do you see familiar faces at every one?
Yep. People are reporting mostly that it's like completely getting rid of their gut issues. We're so inflamed because of the foods, processed foods, everything in our environment. And it's really taking care of their gut issues. And, most of our chronic diseases start in our gut. It's about 99% of them. And 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So gut health is super, super important, especially in this country. We suffer more from gut issues than anywhere else in the world. And so that's who we were meeting at the farmers markets. We're also meeting people who are really pretty sick for being pretty young, and they could not figure out what was wrong with them. There's a huge amount of autoimmune, chronic diseases, and people can't identify what these things are, and they're frustrated, and they're not feeling well. And with this knowledge, it's just we feel a huge responsibility to the people who we have helped, and now we're looking into because our process is a little different. We hot brew. We're not cold pressed, and there's something that happens when you transform ginger in the heating process. It becomes like 10 times more powerful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you almost feel it right away.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your sinuses, in the back of your throat as you're drinking it, and it's already, it's pretty fast acting and magical.
Yeah, I mean, after we met, brought a couple bottles home, and I have my cousin who's like a sister to me who has an autoimmune disease.
Oh.
And I sent her a picture of the bottle. She was like, "Where are you?" I was actually here.
Okay.
Sent her a picture of the bottle. She's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm with Annie." She's like, "I need to try that. How sweet is it?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Not so sweet.
Yep.
You are gonna love this." And she tried it, and she was like, she's like, "It wasn't sweet, and
Yep.
you could like taste how powerful the ginger is, but
Yeah.
it's not too gingery,
Right.
to the point where it's so bitter.
Yeah.
It's like you could, and you feel it.
Yeah.
And she loved it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah.
She loved it. I will report back in a couple weeks or a few
Yeah,
weeks to
let
see
me
like
know.
how it's making her feel completely.
We've had people saying that their psoriasis was like, this is one of our team members out in the Hamptons. She was doing the farmers markets out there, and a customer came and said, my psoriasis was all here and it's just gone after a month. We had one woman who's 76, and she was buying us in Rockville Center. Hi, Allison. And she became such a fan. She would just come behind the booth and start selling. And she would sell us into some stores. And I mean,
my
it's
gosh.
just, and it's like stories like this on a weekly basis. You know, we just did markets in, we just launched our Westchester markets in Long Island this weekend. So we're running around like crazy. And people are just saying it just resolved a lot of gut issues for us. And I had a woman who's going through chemo who said, this is the only thing that's made my stomach feel normal again. So these are really powerful things, and we just feel extremely responsible to just make sure that this stays exactly the way it is.
Authentic.
Authentic.
Keyword authenticity. When we first met, you told me that yes, you're in Whole Foods, yes, you're in Wegmans, but
Yeah.
it's the farmers markets
Yeah.
that you love the most.
Yeah.
Not just monetarily, but it's because you could actually touch the people that you're helping.
Yeah, because we would send boxes out, and you don't know who it's going to, and not everyone gets, sends you an email and says, hey, I'm using it like this, or this is how it's helping me. But at the farmer's market, they're just coming back and just replenishing. They're buying liters every weekend. And if we miss a market, I'm getting phone calls, where are you? Where are you? I need my Elixir. So people are becoming very dependent on it, which is great as a business. And I feel the same way. I'm drinking it every day. And it's just the farmers markets, not only, do you get people to taste, you make them aware of your brand, talk to people, and you're finding out what is really going on with people's health in this country. I mean, our life expectancy has dropped 3 years in the last 2.
Really?
Yep. So we went from 79 to 76, not due to COVID. Everywhere else besides the UK, the US and the UK are tracking exactly the same way. They're both, and I think we have a lot of the same foods, same habits, and diabetes will go up 700%
I hope that
in the next 2 years.
I hope I'm off the trend. I hope I'm trending up.
You are. You probably are.
I hope I'm one of those uptrenders.
Yeah, it's just being aware. I think you are, because you already told me you make your own ginger tea at home, so you already
There you
know. Yeah, so you already know. But our mission is really to just make people think a little bit differently about big pharma. We just are taking pills. It's become transactional. When you go to the doctor, if you don't get a prescription, you feel like you didn't get what you paid for. And we just are having such an unhealthy relationship with pharmaceuticals, our food. If you look at the food, if you compare a school lunch here versus one in France or Japan, it's just two very stark pictures. One is just, ours is just white and beige, and this one is full of color. And you do that with every single country, and it's our attitude towards food is not celebrated. We don't. I don't know. We've really lost touch with what real food is.
Just easy word. It's just not smart.
Yeah,
It's just not smart.
we're just being marketed to constantly with big pharma, big food, and to the point where we're just now being so conditioned that we don't even realize that it's unhealthy. So it's just trying to bring back everyone's thinking to common sense. Common sense. When your grandparents were growing up, what were they eating? What were they doing when they were getting sick? What were they doing when they were getting a cold? What are different cultures doing? The American culture is really, chicken soup is our home remedy, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
That's literally what came to mind.
yeah, chicken soup. And chicken soup is great, but it's not, there are more powerful things in different parts of the world that people are really using that's healing. And I don't know if you saw this report about this orangutan that got into a fight in Indonesia, and his whole cheek was exposed. And so these camera people started following this orangutan around. He has a big open gash here, and he's just chewing on leaves and making a paste out of it, and he keeps applying it to his face. And after 8 days, it's completely gone. So there's something in nature provides for everything, and animals already know this. So it's really interesting stuff.
I love that.
Yeah,
So, what do the next 6 months look like
for
for
us.
Annie?
Well, we launched farmers market, so we are
And how long does that go for?
that for we launched in the Hamptons this weekend, so that'll go on till just
Do
after
you ever
Labor Day.
so when I'm out there, I go to the one in West Hampton. Are you
Yep,
there?
yep. We're doing Thursday at Montauk. It goes to Amagansett, to Sag Harbor, East Hampton, Bridgehampton. There's two in East Hampton, West Hampton Beach, and I think we have almost all of them covered.
Oh wow, you're gonna have a busy and
Yeah.
lucrative summer.
Hopefully. And then also the Westchester, so we're all over Westchester, and Long Island, and some New Jersey. So that's been it's like running a whole separate business, and that's been what I've been in charge with. It's just like in June, we have 99 different events, and it's just, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we did it last year.
Crazy.
It's insane. And that's just June, so July will even be heavier.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. And so we're just there to change people's thinking, or just think in a different way, and just think more about food as having a function for your body, and just really start connecting things back to nature. And yeah, it's crazy. So we're just going to see where it goes, and finally get on social media.
Amen.
And really get our story out there.
Yeah,
and
I got some ideas percolating during this
Okay.
conversation, which we'll
Good,
talk
good,
about
good.
after.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you reading right now?
Reading?
Yeah.
I read all day
I
long.
was about to ask the question. I'm like, how do you have time to sleep, let alone read?
I don't sleep, and then I read all day long, but it's never a formal book. I'm manifesting a book and just being able to sit on a couch and just read and just enjoy a book.
You're like,
which
I
used
once
to
read
do.
a book, and I could
It
picture
was
what
like
that was like.
decades ago. Yeah, it's impossible right now. But I'm just absorbing information all the time, and reading all day long. But it's all stuff for the business, more stuff about ginger, clinical trials.
Yeah, just learning and learning and learning.
Learning and learning and learning. Obsession.
Amen.
Yeah.
Is there any book, or what is one book you would recommend for anybody to read?
I can't even. Although I didn't get through it yet because I don't have time to read, but I've been watching podcasts and things like that, and reading up a lot about it online. But Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind, which is all about mushrooms, microdosing. When we were studying psychedelics and things like that, it was squashed by the Nixon administration as being very stigmatized and taboo, and used Timothy Leary as a really bad example of how crazy these trips could be. But they have such therapeutic, compelling properties that you just can't ignore how effective some of these things are.
I'm going to have to pick this up because
I'm
you're
gonna send
the
you-
second person
Oh.
to recommend this book back in season 1.
Yeah.
Who was it? Jess. You remember the chef, Jess Crux.
Okay.
She's a chef,
Is she using?
and I'll send you her IG so you
Okay.
can see what she does.
Yeah.
She would probably be also a good person to chat with to get
Yeah.
the elixir in her hands.
Would love that. Would love
Yeah,
that.
Jess Crooks would definitely be a good person to get the elixir in her hands.
Okay.
Her posse are definitely your target market
Fantastic.
and have great social media presence.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. We're always, it always is super informative and helpful. And it's always, these conversations are always super rewarding and great. We always learn a lot.
Yeah, and before I let you go, give me one word for anyone trying to make it.
For me, it was microdosing. I became we had a business that was growing, and we were like, are we recognizing this as a business? Like I said, we're really reluctant entrepreneurs, but we are following this. And so I realized, okay, need to become obsessed, need to become completely focused. And so I started a few years ago, and it's been life-changing. First thing, creativity. You're become very creative, laser focused, energetic, and it just is like the best version of yourself, and it just rewires your brain in different ways. It really life-changing for me. I would not be able to have, been as focused and as energetic and productive if I didn't discover that. So I say everybody should do it.
Yeah.
And it really just brings out the best.
For a lot of people, it's probably a bit taboo.
Yeah, and so this is what we're fighting.
It's a matter of getting over that hump, trying it, and realizing, like, wow,
yeah,
I'm just an elevated version of me.
Yeah, it really is, and it goes back to prehistoric times and how, cavemen were foraging through the forest and eating whatever they found, including magic mushrooms, psilocybin and all of these things, and how it developed their brains. It helped with evolution. Animals that were eating it, the same. And there's just some really magical things happening there. And so so Michael Pollan was able to change people's minds from something that was very stigmatized and taboo. And so this is what we're trying to do. It's like, just go back to basics. Think about common sense wise, why, what was working and what you're being marketed on now. We are just being marketed like crazy, and it's working for a lot of people. Mostly,
most people.
Most people. It's a lot of corporate greed, and so you have to just step back and just think, is this really good for me? And really just question everything that you're putting into your body.
Annie there.
Annie's Ginger
Yeah,
Elixir.
is it ever a mouthful?
My domain name, anniesgingerelixir.com, whenever I'm giving out the email, is a mouthful, and I wish I didn't make it that long, but yeah.
Annie,
Yep.
from Annie's Ginger Elixir.
Thank you, Steve.
It's going to change your life.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
You're changing one life a day, if not thousands.
I hope so, and it's not even changing with this, it's just changing your mindset and what you're really used to thinking about things, and just opening up your mind to things that make sense.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.